Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into a really fascinating source today. It details a project called Roots and Domes, spearheaded by a nonprofit called Homes for My Peeps. Their executive director, David Houston, is proposing this highly structured, totally climate-resilient housing model. But, as we're going to see, this isn't just about cool architecture. It's actually a comprehensive blueprint aimed at tackling homelessness, housing instability, and workforce disconnection, all at the exact same time. So here's the thought. What if we actually stopped managing homelessness and started solving it? It's a pretty bold question, right? But it hits right at the core philosophy of Homes for My Peeps. The source material points out that our current systems usually just manage the symptoms of a crisis. We put band-aids on the problem to help people survive the night, which is important, but we completely miss fixing the root cause that leaves them unhoused in the first place. So throughout this explainer, we're going to look at how Roots and Domes wants to flip that paradigm entirely. Okay, here's the quick game plan for how we'll break this down. 1. The temporary housing problem. 2. The Roots and Domes solution. 3. Workforce and community building. 4. Scalable designs and economics. And 5. Permanence over repeated waste. Let's jump right into Section 1, the temporary housing problem, and why we're currently managing symptoms versus solving roots. This source highlights a really stark contrast in how our systems operate today. Right now, communities typically respond to homelessness with temporary relief. We're talking shelters, RV parks, transitional programs. And sure, while these definitely help people survive the night, they often trap them in this endless cycle. The Roots and Domes philosophy shifts entirely toward permanent stabilization. The idea here is that to truly reintegrate someone into a community, the solution absolutely must provide dignity, ownership, and real permanence. Which brings us perfectly to Section 2. The Roots and Domes solution, specifically monolithic concrete dome homes. Now, when you hear the phrase concrete dome, you might instantly picture some kind of sci-fi movie set, right? But these are actually highly durable fortresses. We are talking about structures that are fire-resistant, mold-resistant, termite-resistant, and literally tornado and hurricane-resistant. The source material really emphasizes that these are not your average pop-up shelters. Because of this extreme resilience, their lifespan is measured in generations, not just years. Honestly, it's the absolute definition of smart affordability. And you've got to check out these energy efficiency numbers. We're looking at R24 to R40+. Documentation from the Monolithic Dome Institute, which is cited in the pitch, notes that using just 3 inches of polyurethane foam gives you at least twice the insulation capacity of conventional housing. So why does that actually matter to us? Well, because affordable housing is about the cost to live in it, not just the cost to build it. Having that massive insulation capacity means drastically lower heating and cooling bills, completely removing a huge utility burden for families. Moving on to Section 3, workforce and community building. Because this goes way beyond just walls. David Houston sums up the whole ethos perfectly with this quote: "People are not simply receiving housing, they are helping create it." That totally shifts the dynamic, doesn't it? It moves us from a passive charity model straight into an active empowerment model through their Community Builders program. Through this program, residents are physically building the community they're going to live in. They are gaining real, highly marketable skills, things like OSHA safety prep, construction site work, framing, finish trades, and even integrating agriculture. This is a massive takeaway from the source material. By integrating residents into the workforce, you're creating tangible job pathways and a true, lasting pride of ownership. It just fundamentally changes how a community functions. All right, let's look at Section 4, scalable designs and economics. It's time to break down the numbers. These models are incredibly scalable and intentionally designed to fit various community needs without blowing up infrastructure costs. They range from a 314 square foot unit that's perfect for veterans or seniors to a Murphy bed version that maximizes that exact same small footprint. There's a 1-bedroom option for couples who need a bit more privacy and a really unique 804 square foot shared studio. That one actually houses 4 independent living spaces within one efficient dome, which the pitch notes is exceptionally effective for supportive housing communities. Now, for the financial logic. Remember that typical 314 square foot unit we just talked about? The source places the upfront cost for that at $85,000 to $125,000. But here's what's vital to understand. This isn't just the cost of the empty dome shell. That figure is comprehensive. It covers land prep, foundation work, the shell package with shotcrete, plumbing, electrical, and even permits. It is a fully baked number for a permanent solution. And there's a really important distinction to make when talking about rolling this out. The initial goal is a 3-unit pilot phase, estimated to cost between $600,000 and $900,000. Homes for My Peeps is super clear here. This is not a citywide rollout right out of the gate. It's a responsible, controlled proof of concept designed to show that the model actually works in the real world before anyone attempts to scale it across an entire municipality. So how is all this paid for? Well, the project relies on a layered funding strategy rather than putting all its eggs in one fragile basket. They're pulling from the Housing Trust Fund, the Iowa Finance Authority, CDBG funding, philanthropic foundations, and specifically climate grants, which, makes total sense given the extreme durability and efficiency we talked about earlier. This diverse strategy makes the project highly realistic, incredibly resilient, and honestly a lot more attractive to potential municipal partners. But here is perhaps the strongest economic argument of the entire presentation. Ready? Reactive homelessness management actually costs more than permanent housing solutions. It is absolutely critical to understand that every repeated shelter cycle drains city resources. Emergency shelter dependence, constant police response, treating medical instability right there on the streets, these are astronomical recurring public costs. Investing in a permanent, stable solution like Roots and Domes ultimately reduces that massive long-term financial burden on the city.
Let's tackle Section 5, Permanence over Repeated Waste. It's time for some environmental real talk.
The pitch definitely acknowledges the elephant in the room here. Traditional concrete comes with environmental concerns. However, they completely reframe the sustainability argument. Just think about the massive environmental footprint of building and then tearing down and replacing temporary housing every 10 to 15 years. Now compare that to building one highly durable building with ultra-low operating costs that easily lasts 50 to 100 years. True environmentalism sometimes means we have to choose absolute permanence over repeated cyclical waste. Plus, they don't just stop at the concrete. The project pairs this hardcore durability with some incredible hybrid green strategies. We're talking hempcrete insulation systems, urban agriculture, regenerative landscaping, and long-term community food systems. They are actively merging environmental justice perfectly with housing justice to ensure the long-term sustainability of the community itself, not just the physical structures. And that brings us to one final, really profound question to leave you with today. Will we keep funding temporary survival, or will we finally invest in permanent solutions? The Roots and Domes project challenges pretty much everything about how we treat our most pressing social crises. It's asking us to stop managing the symptoms and start actually solving the roots. It's a massive paradigm shift, and one that definitely leaves us asking what a true community is supposed to look like. Thanks so much for exploring this with me today.